Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the London session on TopstepTV. Let's just check that sound and video are all going out okay. So video is fine. Audio, presumably fine. Can everyone hear me? Right, Wednesday. Let's see what we've got. Now, I'm going to take it a bit slow today because I had a couple of not such good days, so I need to pull it back. So I'm going to be looking at copper and platinum this morning. I can see crude oil is already on the run, so that to me would be a little bit too much risk. However, I do have a swing position in my personal account that I initiated yesterday. And I held it overnight. So I was looking at that reaction on crude oil yesterday that we had from ballpark 67.75. So I'm just gonna quickly show you what I mean here. Now these were some levels from yesterday. We had some slight issues in live accounts yesterday, so I was trying to get out of some positions and I wasn't able to do so. So you know, it will happen every so often. That's fine, but we just need to make sure to pace ourselves, not allow that to get us too worked up. But basically, this is what I was seeing on crude oil yesterday, which is why I think it's good for a swing. So first of all, we had an Asia low that established a long position right around where the put support options levels were, and then it just started running, right? At some point during the day, it smashed all the way back down exactly to that level, only to turn around for the euro close. Now, you guys know that doing a reversal trade into euro close, that's my jam. So unfortunately, yesterday didn't quite manage to do that because I was fumbling around and the orders weren't going in, and you know how it works. So never mind. But that level still good for a swing trade, right? I was also looking at the daily chart just to see where we're coming from, and we did have this demand area over here. So let me just clean up this chart a little bit because it's got like so many different levels from quite a few days. So yeah, I was kind of looking at the bottom of the range as a potential for a little swing trade. And yesterday I got it. So I decided to go in, you know, fairly late in the day, and I just carried that over. So now that's kind of running. And that swing trade, I mean, if we continue today, especially post inventories, I have enough room to see exactly what happens with the inventories. It's not like a whole ton of room because it's still within the day's range. But if we manage to sustain this move away from the demand into the end of the day, I may hold this up to about 71.75, which is ballpark where the next daily supply or resistance is located. But if you see, anytime we try to hit a demand, it reacted nicely from it. So here's one, and then here's another one, sort of like a little offspring demand from the weekly. And now we have another reactionary area. Now, one slight caveat with this is that if we start to make a lower lows, this is not going to be as much of a valid swing trade signal because this is not new, not a new test, right? It's not the first test. In fact, we've been here before. So if this one fails, it is what it is. But trade location wise, chart location wise, on these large time frames, I deemed that this was a pretty good area for such a trade. And because of that, I'm not really interested in doing crude oil intraday. So I'm going to be focusing on something else. Copper looks really good to me for a short, potentially. Why? Because we have the London value here. We are kind of trying to test inside it. And we also have some former put support levels right at 415. So if we sustain this move down in the next sort of 15 or 30 minutes, that could be a short. If we don't sustain, then obviously we're going to be looking at a value acceptance trade. And in that case, I'm probably going to sit that one out, because from a larger time frame, even though there are some areas here, for now it looks like we're just smashing down. So until we get some sort of a dedicated reaction from this little demand over here, I'm probably not going to try and fight the trend. So I want to see the reaction at the level and then potentially get back in on that. Now, if you're here for the first time, my name is Deeyana Angelo, aka Market Dee. I have been trading for 17 years now, and 12 years out of that I've been trading futures for various prop firms. Let's see what we have when it comes to some announcements. Right, so we've had Topstep Labs giveaway for the slow markets class. The winners have been revealed. Super exciting, right? So that is, of course, our lovely coach Dakota, and he revealed the 20 traders who won the entry into his exclusive Q&A. I think that's today. He's going to be doing that today, I believe. So it's just like Topstep VIP scouting. Coach Dakota had check-in forms that you needed to fill out as many times as possible. And the more traders checked in, the higher the entries that they got in that raffle. So obviously those who filled it out the most were at the top of the queue, and 20 lucky traders now have the option to ask him a whole bunch of questions. What do the winners get? They get 3 hours of group coaching plus access to an exclusive Discord chat room where you can not only chat to Coach Dakota, but also to other team members. So if you like what we're doing here, drop us a review on Topstep. I'm just going to locate that link if I can. Oh, there's a new sheet that we're working with. Okay. So let me find the form. Here we go. So if you're finding any value in the education that Topstep brings, or you've had positive experiences and no problem with payouts and all of that, because you're not going to have problems with payouts with Topstep like with some other firms, and certainly no rug pulls. Okay, so that's your Trustpilot. So give us a review. Share your experience. Tell others how it went, right? Nelson says, oh my God, Deeyana, I missed you. I'm from Los Angeles and I'm never up this late. So one of my really, really close friends, she was one of my bridesmaids. She lives in LA. She's originally from the UK, from an area called Bournemouth, but she lives over there. And she's a real estate agent there. She used to be a musician, and now she's living it up in LA for quite a long time now, actually. So yeah, I like LA. I don't think I would ever live there, but it's a pretty cool place, especially since you guys now have Uber. That makes things easier, because when I was there previously, you guys had like this really weird kind of taxi thing where you would call a hub somewhere in the country, and then they would be like, well, which city are you calling from? And you'd be like, oh, Los Angeles, Studio City. So that was a bit weird. So Uber, I think, made the whole getting around LA, especially if you want to have a couple of drinks, much, much easier. But yeah, love the beaches. We used to go to Santa Monica Pier quite a bit. So yeah. All right. So we do have a little bit of a reversal in copper, but it's not that committed, right? So it's kind of there. I would like to hit 415 before anything. We're just shy of that. And what typically happens with these sort of options levels where we expect the market makers to adjust their inventory, they typically do overshoot it a little bit, and then they start to sort of mess around. Not always, sometimes it shies away from it if it's a really strong move. And while I'm running the stream, I can't really have Bookmap open at the same time because I'm just a little bit paranoid since that time when the stream crashed, and we don't know why the stream crashed. But I'm a little bit paranoid not to do anything on my side that would sort of jeopardize the stream. And Bookmap is a little bit expensive on the RAM memory as well, especially when you have several things open. So yeah, still waiting. I'm not going to rush today. Anytime I run into a couple of days of underperformance, I like to go back through my stats and see exactly what I was doing. So rather than going, oh, it's not working, I like to rely on data and then find comfort in that, and then try to avoid the times of day when traditionally I am not having the best performance, or it's like not as many profits. And that's where this timing of this stream comes in. So in order for me to actually get a decent trade setup or anything, and to actually trade at all, I need to follow those kind of things. This is why towards the end of the stream, I usually find a good trade. But until such time, I just sit and wait. And I'm the type of a trader who's mainly I would call myself a mean reversion trader, counter trend. I'm such a contrarian that it does work against me sometimes. And it's not like I won't do a breakout momentum trade. It's just that I think I'm the best when I see an extended move in one direction and then I kind of find a level to snipe it from on the other side. That is why I have a reasonably high risk reward. And I'm somebody who aims for slightly lower accuracy but higher risk reward. However, both of those I like to keep sort of in the middle. So nothing too extreme. I'm not shooting for 10R or 6R, and I'm not shooting for like 30 or 20% accuracy. So I like to have between 43 to 53% accuracy, even though sometimes I have it higher. But most of the time it will float ballpark around 50%, let's say. And then I like to have a risk reward, so profit factor, average risk reward between 1.7 up to 2.3. So nothing crazy. It's all scaled down to the intraday time frames, and making sure that I get the maximum amount of cash for not too many trades in a day, right? So Paul, hello Paul, good morning, good to see you. He says copper VWAP Globex is down, anchored VWAP is up, and anchored VWAP the high volume candle. So I'm staying out for now. Yeah, well, you see, I'm staying out too. I'm not in a trade yet. So yeah, we just wait. But these levels are pretty interesting, right? They're pretty interesting. I don't just use VWAP. We are a little over overnight VWAP, over Globex VWAP. And even though anchored VWAP might work for certain times of the day, I found that, especially on crude oil is a bit more whippy, and I just can't really make it work that well. And also platinum has had, I don't know, I've been looking at how I can do that sort of trade, but I don't know, somehow I am better at looking at the day type and stuff, using initial balance, value areas, and then maybe, just maybe, if I see a breakout potential there, I will look at the anchored VWAP and overnight VWAP connection, right? But if I just tried using those, to me, so far, it didn't bring good results. So I'm just going to put that out there. It was always like a fake out or something, and then it kind of whips through the anchored VWAP and then comes back in. Or I'm looking at a VWAP pinch and it just breaks out. So it was like almost like the opposite thing. So I'm going to stick to my methodology, which is tried and tested through, 12 years. And even though some of the metals I haven't traded as much, I traded GC and CL for 12 years. But platinum and copper are relatively new because this year I was looking for something that I can trade during London outside of DAX. And our meme lord, Carl Hungus, he said, hey, Dee, look at copper. And copper has been absolutely beautiful. But having said that, I find that I'm best at copper, usually about a half an hour after the stream ends or towards the end of the stream. And if I show you my copper stats, let me just find it. Where did that open? Here it is. Okay, so showing you my copper stats here. So you can see this is London time. So I start the stream around 9:30. You can see whenever I try to trade the open, I didn't do so well, right? So that means I need to stay out for at least a couple of hours from the London Open. And then 11 o'clock comes in. So that's half an hour after the stream comes. And usually I get a little scalp there. So that's like empirically what I think in my head as well. You see, sometimes when you look at these, you will find some odd things that you're like, really? I suck at that time of day? I thought I was really good. And then you go, oh, okay. And then obviously we come to the pre-market. I'm pretty decent at pre-market, finding trades pre-market, but then a little bit sucky in between that time. And then my main time of day comes in between 3 and 4 p.m. My time. So that's 9 a.m. Eastern all the way up to 11 a.m. So this is now, of course, that Euro close reversal that I so love, and that works on copper too. So, you get to that time of day, usually there's some sort of a reaction in the opposite direction. And then again, lunchtime, I know this, sucky. A little bit of a scalp for the end of the market. And then for some reason, this actually really surprised me. For some reason, it basically, I have pretty good success in the last hour. So I need to see what I was doing there because I didn't think I was trading copper that late. So that was a bit surprising to me. But yeah, so this is why I want to make sure that I wait for those times a day and to make sure that I'm not trading outside of my own statistical underperformance, right? Very useful to do this sort of stuff. I do use Edgewonk. This was from Edgewonk. They have so you go to Chart Lab and then performance by time, and then there's a little drop down that says hour by performance by hour or something like that. Still waking up. Bruno, so you just said hi to my sister. Sandy is in here. So yeah, she usually pops in here and says hi. She's not a trader or anything, but she's very supportive, so she's here. So yeah. Dada's hi. Great username, love that. Dee, what is that tool? The tool is just Edgewonk, right? So Edgewonk is a performance platform that I've used for many years. Yeah, I can try and give you a link for that, I suppose. So it's edgewonk.com, and I could be sneaky giving you my affiliate link here, but I won't. So I'm just giving you a normal thing. So check that out. I mean, I know that we have stats on Topstep, but I always feel like it's one of those things where this is a platform. Topstep is still a platform in development. So because of that, I would I would use it just for like ease of use and stuff, but I prefer to have some more elaborate stats. And Edgewonk allows you to create custom stats. As in, like, if you go on tilt one day and you go, I lost 3 trades in a row and I'm tilting, you can actually put that in to measure it. And then you measure it just like any other metric, which is amazing. So to me, that was absolutely invaluable. The different trader says, please ask if they can add alerts. Look, I want Eurex as well. I don't know how much power do you think I have here, guys. But, you know, I'm just a contractor here. You know, it's, you know, I love Topstep and stuff, but I'm not a permanent employee. I have no contact with support. I have some contact with developers, obviously, because I was the first live account. So this account was the first live Topstep account. So therefore, you know, I did help with some bugs and stuff, but I don't, you know, I've been begging for Eurex now for 9 months, right? And we still don't have it. So that kind of shows you that, you know, they have their own priorities, and that's okay. Okay. The best way to do that is to just upvote things as much as possible on the feature voting part, which is this question mark. I see somebody's asking about Dakota. Yes, he will be here tomorrow, so this is super exciting. Dakota and I have been kind of talking for a while now. I think it's been a few weeks. It's like, yeah, I should come on London. I'm like, yeah, I should have you on for London. But every time I think about having him on, I'm always like, God, poor guy, he's not going to sleep at all. And I always feel bad that I'm going to be robbing him of his sleep, basically. So now we decided, listen, you're going to have the Q&A thing and stuff. Let's do the London session. So he's going to stay up for us, which is extraordinarily kind of him. So he will be here tomorrow. Hopefully he will be functional enough to answer a couple of questions, but at the same time, I don't want to you know, make him do all the talking because it's going to be so late for him, like super, super late. So yeah, but we are going to have Coach Dakota to pick his brain a bit tomorrow. And so yeah, make sure you join. That's going to be absolutely amazing. All right, so we're getting some sellers stepping in here. And you see what I mean about breaking through these market maker levels and then doing a reaction. So now, if in the next sort of 5 minutes we can sustain this move, ideally also outside of value, I might plop in 5 micro coppers here, even though it's still a little early. But you've seen that graph, like around 10 a.m., which is coming up soon, I do start to get my setups. Now, the thing with me is that my performance can largely, especially when I've been on a run of like 17 days, it can really show you the nature of the setups that I'm taking, because, or not show you, but show me, because I know the types of setups that I'm expecting at that time of day. How long have I been holding this live account? Almost a year. So I got it towards the end of December. So yeah, so end of December till now is what, 11 months now in November? So yeah, quite a while. And, you know, I hope to continue to do so into the next year as well. So yeah, one and only live account, guys. No blowing up, no getting this, getting that. It's all just one account. And yes, I have XFAs and stuff, but, you know, it's a nice thing to be able to kind of fund your live account from XFAs, but I do think that that's going to go away at some point. So I do want to focus more on the live, but focusing more is not necessarily a good thing. Like, you need to take really good setups. And every time I only have the live, I tend to start doing trades that are maybe not the best. I don't know whether it's boredom or whether it's like desire to trade or whatever, because we all love this stuff so much, right? And you don't, like, you have to approach it from the point of view that you don't have too many swings at the bat. If you're going to trade live, that's it, right? Whereas with multiple XFAs, I can maybe have a bit of a bad run in one of them, then have a break, then come back for the next part of the session, again following those stats that I was showing you. And effectively just going, okay, well, that one didn't work. Let's try and wipe that from our brains and see whether there's a good setup here. Go into Euro close, you know, rely on those high probability setups. But with a live account, like for example, if I start today and this first trade does not quite go well, that might put me on a bit of a tilt for the rest of the day, because you're like, oh my God, it's a live account. I need to, you know. So everybody has a bit of that in our head. But, you know, it's just something you have to get used to, right? However, for me, one and only live account for a year now. So, you know, take that as you will. And, you know, whenever I get myself in a drawdown in the live, I will slog it out. Like, I will size down. I will go down to like 2 micros if necessary until I start to see that I'm turning a corner. And that's just nature of being a trader. It's not like, oh yeah, F it, let's just blow this one up and get a whole bunch of new XFAs and do whatever. No, you screwed it up. You should be able to just pipe down and make sure that you are sizing down appropriately to the account balance. Again, I spoke about this, you know, yesterday. And even though if the drawdown continues, you can still continue to adjust your positioning. And I know everybody wants like to be rich yesterday, but you know, at this point in my life, I kind of have most things that I want. So to me, priority over one account and, you know, having to have profits in that one live account. I have, you know, I have my own live account, and I have a couple of other accounts in other places as well, right? So, and plus I do have a like sort of a, I wouldn't say corporate account because it's called just a, yeah, I suppose it is a corporate account. So we have a company, and that company has its own account. And then obviously there, I'm not the only one making decisions, but I am the named person to trade that account, right? However, whenever I want to do a swing trade, I do have to consult the director of that company because we are partners. And I have to make sure that he agrees with the swing trade, and it's more like swing trading over 5 days. So it's a bit different. And then for my own account, I don't keep that one that large because of the personal income tax, which is horrendously massive in this country. It's like 40%. It's like absolutely crazy. So I don't keep that one that high. But I actively trade DAX in there, and I actively trade gold, like all the stuff that you see me doing here. A lot of the times I will be doing that in my other live, but not really the London session. London session is DAX for me, and then when the Euro close comes in, I do my reversal trade, and that's the only thing that I do there. But I do look at all the products that are the same that I'm looking at here, so yeah. Paul H says, I'm having trouble seeing value areas. Do you have time to go over that? Yeah, so value areas for me are for the TPOs. All right, so we have the bearish engulfing that I was looking for. So I'm going to go MHG. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do 5 micros. So we are in, and I'm going to put that onto this side just so we can see the execution. Focus on one thing only. What's going on here? And my stop loss for this is going to be 36. So not quite catching the high here. So that's, you know, a little bit suspect. But I don't want to risk more than $186 this early in the morning. And then let's put the profit at about 60 ticks. So let's see where we get to. Now, one worry here is that we have this low from the London range, and if I want to have more out of it, it means that we need to break that range. So it's sort of like a continuation breakout setup. And this is micro copper, right? Yeah, okay. So you can see how this derivative is a bit laggy. let's go into a 15-minute chart to be equal. This is where you can see the derivative nature of a micro. So I have the full contract on the left with all my levels, and then I have my position here on the right. And what is going on? We have the full contract reacting, and we have this one static. So that's the derivative of this, right? Anyways, we have a trade. Let's see how this works out. Now, what sort of a trade is this? Well, technically, this is a value reversal, value low reversal trade. So, Paul, you're asking about value areas. I mean, you can do value areas on the volume visible range, but I don't like to do that for intraday purpose. I like to do, to see how far away we are from value on very large time frames, but on small time frames, I'm not really that keen on volume profile until such time that I'm looking to exit something that I might be using a 100-tick chart volume profile POC just to see where we're building volume in a very localized area. So that's how I use it. So very large time frames or tiny time frames. But for sentiment and readouts of what is happening on the day, I do use the TPOs. I can see the question saying, what is TPO? And I see another question that I missed as well. And let me see if I missed any others, because I'm talking a lot and my eyesight is, I am better with these glasses. Before I was like, I can't see anything. Granny D. But yeah, so so let's go over what a TPO is. It's literally another name for a 30-minute time frame candle, but organized as a vertical histogram where we do a little bit of measuring about the distribution curves. So TPO stands for time, price, opportunity. Now, I know that people are like, oh, I don't like courses, but I have my courses that explain my methodology precisely for this reason, so that I don't have to come onto this stream and every single day to explain what is initial balance 100 times. What is TPO 100 times? How do you calculate value area 100 times? So this is why the courses exist, so that we don't repeat ourselves over and over, even though I'm happy to do so. But once upon a time, I had all of my colleagues that I worked with asking me the same questions. Oh, can you explain the failed auction to me? Oh, can you explain? So at one point, it started to take over my life. So I kind of fell into course sales because I was looking for ways to maximize my free time, which was now being taken over by me explaining things to every individual person, what this is, what that is, and then having to do that for like 12 other people. And then eventually I started putting it all on the website. So I'm like, I'm just going to put it on like a little website. And then I thought to myself, well, this is a pain in the ass, because back then doing video stuff on a website involved you integrating a video service yourself via code into a website. So I decided to do it on YouTube. This was 2015. And I still had my big purple hair because I was still a rock and pop musician. So you can see my very first video on YouTube, me explaining how I use supply and demand concepts. And I'm using an intraday example for that, but basically explaining the same concepts from that. However, this is TPO stuff. So eventually, not eventually, within like 1 week, I had thousands and thousands of views on that. I don't know who they were. And YouTube is very different these days. So my channel is a legacy channel. So I do have quite a few problems with this current YouTube algorithm that just doesn't push my videos. And this is one of the reasons why I paused making them. It's one of the reasons. Another reason is I had some health issues. But basically, the main reason was that I was doing all this work, and for videos that used to get like 12,000, 25,000, 30,000 views, suddenly they're getting 500, 700,000, and it all matched up with in and around the shorts side of things. So they started introducing shorts. And all of a sudden, legacy channels with long-form videos were pushed aside. And I I did a few shorts, but I kind of feel that they're, like, for me, I would not be able to derive any serious information from it. Anytime I see a short, I'm like, what can you possibly learn in 1 minute? Like, this is such a tough thing to do. And now you're trying to do YouTube videos with like bite-sized pieces of 1 minute information on a pretty complex subject, So I don't know, to me, I never really gravitated towards shorts. I tried doing TikTok videos, that was horrible. I'm just too old for that. Like, let's just say it like it is. I'm nearly mid-40. I'm not going to be going to be doing silly dances and, doing like, stupid things. But having said that, I enjoy comedy. Like, I do like humor. I grew up with a dad who was a comedian, musician. And I've been known to crack a few jokes here and there. So I do enjoy kind of maybe making fun videos, like I did the ASMR video where I'm whispering to you 3 reasons why you're blowing up challenges. And then at the end of it, I shout at you and I say, stop it. So, things like that. Or joking about some of the other prop firms' never-ending payout rules. So that was my recent one. Because, I was on Twitter and one day we have one set of rules and then the next day, suddenly those rules are changing. So we have a consistency rule. We don't have a consistency rule. We have a payout window. Now that payout window is longer. Oh, there's not going to be payout windows. Now you have to video yourself. Like all of that. I just found it so ridiculous. So it's like, this is reaching like comedy point. I have to make something that makes fun of this. So, I think we're in a bit of a weird moment now with prop firms and stuff. But yeah, so I felt the need to do that. If I don't have anything to say, I just don't want to make a YouTube video that's going to get like 1,000 views, right? So that's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped. But the whole point of TPOs, value areas, and all of that, like I used to do daily videos, and people would still ask me, and then I would say to them, well, just go watch one of my courses, right? They're so cheap. The starter courses, they're super cheap. They're just like, hey, I don't want time wasters. I just want someone who's going to be like, yeah, I'll pay you $10 for that. And of course, I have the pro development program, which is much, much more expensive. Why? Because it's 30 hours just on the basic level, 30 hours of me explaining how I get to these levels. And there's like 4 different parts to it, right? 4 different parts. And you can't explain that kind of information all in just one lecture. So if you want to know more, there are my links underneath. So check it out. It's a good starting point to start learning about this stuff without completely breaking the bank. It's I used to be a music teacher at one point, and I don't know how many people know this, but I do have a couple of degrees, right? And they're all music related. However, one thing about teaching music is that you have to work methodically with a student. You can't just go, oh, you're going to be doing practicing, but just do whatever, right? Here's a study. Practice however you like. No, you have to be their guide, right? You have to go, okay, this is how you do it. So you start slow. We're going to lower the tempo, find the weaknesses, and then hone in on those weaknesses, isolate them, and drill. So that's how you become a good musician. Now, similarly, in trading, you get the same thing, right? You have you doing the practice. Yes, it looks a bit different. So you're not playing an instrument, but you are, for example, practicing your entries. What's your entry technique going to be? So many people can't even explain to me what their actual entry is. They have a level. It's like, but when are you entering? When is the trade invalid? When is the trade valid? And this is where courses of quality courses can actually help you, okay? So rather than me sitting here and explaining it for the next hour or so, that's where those courses are very useful. But I don't find my value areas purely by me looking at the chart, okay? It is an indicator. So just for like 3 seconds, again, I'm going to show what that looks like. And and why it's so easy for me to do so. But basically, the value area is the 70%. I know Robert Cooney uses 80%, but I like to use 70% for the TPO value. What does that do? It tells me where the distribution curve from yesterday was. So instead of me just going, oh my God, I have no idea what's going on here, I would just go, okay, well, where was the London value from yesterday? And I can tell you on this indicator, this is Blotic MP, that's where the value was. So why? Because that's the part where the price spent most time. I'm looking forward to the day when we can actually get the TPOs and the value areas into Topstep. But for now, this is the indicator from my software development company. Blotic MP is the name, and we are in the process of creating stuff for some ninja indicators. We have them, this is MT5 on AMP Futures, where I've held my charging for a very long time. But basically, because of the weirdness in the CFD and FX space, we are now trying to translate everything into a futures related platform, and that is NinjaTrader for now. At some point, we might decide to grapple with the Blotic indicators into Topstep as well, but not just yet. So Ninja is a kind of our first line of deliverables. Okay, so yeah, if you are looking for the value areas, it's a little bit tough to get them in free resources because they all look weird or they're not accurate. So that's a little bit challenging, I will say. I've looked high and wide. I've bought some of our competitors' things, and they're all a little strange and a little bit off in their calculation as well. We created our indicator with the help of Markets in Profile book. So we took what Dalton was talking about and we based our calculations on that. But then you have Sierra chart that spews out slightly different values that can be like by 10 or 20 takes off. And I'm like, what is going on here? So we looked into the calculation underneath and it was just very odd. I'm like, what? This is not how you calculate this. What are they doing? So I don't know. I mean, I trust my indicators because I know what we've done on the back end with it. And I have a team that comes from bulge bracket banks. So you're going to get quality because people like Credit Suisse, Barclays Capital, they don't employ idiots. So my team comes from that sort of a world. I'm very, very fortunate that they joined forces with me many moons ago. And it was because we were drinking in a pub together. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we had meetings and I went to like pitch things. It was like people that I knew from the area and from just ballpark, Canary Wharf and stuff. So in the end, we sat down and one of them wanted to exit the corporate world and saw my company as a way to do it. And then he bought my company, so here we are. So I have a software development firm, and I have trading education firm. I also have an IT recruitment firm. I don't know how many people know that, but So anyways, enough about my other adventures. Let's see some more accounts. Some more questions. How to become someone like you, YouTube Topstep trader? I wouldn't call myself a YouTube Topstep trader. Okay, so my journey into YouTube was very random. So I said that I kind of stumbled into YouTube 10 years ago. It wasn't a calculated decision on my part. It was just like, I'm just going to put some videos. And then it went to like crazy amount of views in a week. And I'm like, who are these people? And then it wasn't like I was going to be a YouTuber. In fact, I didn't even start considering that channel in any serious way until COVID, when we were in lockdown. I was bored out of my brains. My prop firm at the time shut the doors. And I was just like, well, now what do I do? This is great. I'm just alone and lonely. So I figured, hey, maybe I should make some like fun videos around, around trading. And up until then, I was doing like weekly strategy videos, but they were like really serious and stuff. So people were sort of like half afraid of me. And then I decided to try and use a bit of comedy and some of my musician side of my personality, where I am an entertainer. And just to try and make it all super fun with like some animations and, just over the top kind of YouTube stuff. And that actually took off in a pretty nice way. So yeah, the channel grew exponentially in those short few years. And now I kind of stopped doing it actively because I am doing these videos and I have to be careful about my energy levels. Some of my health issues are causing a bit of a problem every so often. So that's not great, but it's, I'm dealing with it. It's okay. However, how do you get to this point? Well, I got to this point purely because of my relationship with Topstep that has been going on for 9 years. I found them years ago, became the first female trader to pass the combine and get funded. I was interviewed by Eddie and Hogue. Then I was a part of Squawk Radio for a while. Then they stopped the Squawk Radio. I went on to other things, other firms that were not remote, so I had to actually go into the office. And then during COVID, I came back to prop firms, primarily because my prop firm at the time, like I said, they shut the doors. So I was like, well, okay, let's see what's going on in the online prop firm space. So I explored multiple firms, and I kind of started building that up. But I got invited to do Topstep purely because me and Hogue know each other and because we've done content creation together. But I'm guessing if you want to become, well, first step, if you want to be on TopstepTV, you have to fill out the casting call. Are they going to give you your own segment? Probably not immediately, but if you trade well, if you are good at explaining things, if you have a methodology that is explainable to people, so rather than just going, I'm in, they don't want to see that. Okay, if you are going to be on TopstepTV, they want to see that you know what you're doing partially, right? So that you're not just complete new. Well, I mean, even if you're a complete newbie, you can talk about it and you can ask us questions, the coaches that are on with you. But if you're aiming to be a part of Topstep, be on TopstepTV, maybe have your own segment or something, that's, I think, a matter of trust and a matter of relationship with the company. And that's not something that's built up just overnight. You usually already have to be a streamer of some sort. One of the reasons why they invited me to do this is because I was running my own daily streams for like 2-3 years. So I know the ins and outs of how to do a broadcast, how to do a stream, how to deal with any potential problems, how to bring on guests. It doesn't scare me. It's not a new thing for me. You need to know how to set up your lights, your cameras. You need to, there's so many other things that go into this. You guys have no idea. This is a lot. Okay, so when you see us running our segments, Dakota, Coach J, anyone who, Nick Furtick, anyone who has their own segment, and we're trying to trade at the same time, it's a ton of work. Okay, like whenever I have guests on here, I have to worry about the production side of things. I have to make sure that I'm flipping between guest screens. So it's not as easy as just like, oh, how do I become a YouTuber on Topstep? You have to have some skills that you're comfortable with before they would allow you to do anything like this. And usually they turn to those of us who are already experienced streamers and already built up a channel for many, many years in a lot of the cases. Or you're just an extraordinary individual like Coach Dakota, right? He is not your normal 31-year-old, right? He is a very driven person. He's a business guy. And I know that he has boyish looks and stuff. Don't let that fool you. He is a very, very mature person. And I can see that he's been like that since he was 17, right? 17. It's that's not normal. And similarly, myself, I am, getting on with age now, but when I was, 17, I was super driven. Actually, when I was 12, I was super driven. I actually went behind my dad's back to negotiate my first album. on completely the other side of town as well. So, that just shows you how insane I was. And then I started doing gigs at 14. My dad had to come with me because I was underage. So, yeah, crazy people doing crazy things at a super early age. So, you have to be one of those. Not that that's necessary to become a YouTuber because some people are late bloomers, but just keep in mind that it's not an easy path. It's a lot of work before you can actually get there, okay? But the first step, if you want to be on TopstepTV, just fill out the casting call. Let me see if I can grab that for you, actually, if you're interested in maybe joining us here. Oh, okay, so do we actually have links? That's the VIP scouting. Hold on, let me just find it. Oh, I did have a casting call somewhere, but they changed the sheet now. So let me see. Just reading here. No, that's group coaching. I can't find it in this this new sheet. I have no idea. Let me see if I can maybe grab the old one. I'm gonna just do my bookmarks because I know I had it in there. Okay, and is that the old one now, or did they change that as well? Just bear with me for a second. I'll get you that casting call. Yeah, okay, this should be easier. There we go. Found it, guys. Found it. Hey. So this should be the casting call if you want to be on TopstepTV. So get in there. You will have to go through a vetting process with the producers, and if they like you, if they think you could bring something to TopstepTV, then you'll be unleashed on our community. All right. Let's have a look at some questions. So, hey Dee, what is your mental strategy for trades? Where is your stop loss? Where your stop loss is a break even. So, okay, so I don't do that. And the trade just hits it exactly and then moves in your planned direction. So here we go. Break even stops. I don't like them. Okay. If you think the trade is not valid and you see a structure break to the opposite side, just take the profits. Okay. This is the reason why I do not do break-even stops. They're pointless to me because by the time that the trade is moved in my direction, that's it, right? I've caught one for 30 to 50 ticks. So if it then starts moving back, why are you waiting for it to hit your break-even point? Like what? You're just sitting there looking at it reversing? So here's a question for you. How soon do you move it to break-even? Is it within 5 ticks? If yes, stop doing that. Commit to the trade. Look, there's a reason why my stop loss is where it is here, okay? It's to stay away from the London value low and just a little bit higher into this structure where we turned around. So it's inside the wick of this whole structure. I'm going to commit to the trade. I'm risking $186 on this. It's nothing, right? It is fine. And even if you were risking $1,800, if your account size says that's okay, don't mess with your stop loss placement. Now, when your trade is in profit and you want to get the majority or the chunk of it, that's a different thing. That's profit protection. But what you're doing with moving your stops to break even is being afraid of the loss. It has nothing to do with trade management, okay? Nothing to do. It's only that you don't want to lose. So here's the thing. Size down, leave your bloody stop where it is, and let the trade play out. Commit to the trade. Commit to the stop loss placement. Think about it this way. I placed my stop above the round number, which I also know was a turning point so the options levels and, gamma exposure and all that. Let's not get too deep down the rabbit hole there. But basically, my stop is above the round number. If I were to take it down into break even without it having at least 1 R, so 1 30 tick move away from it, which puts it at 412.30, what am I doing if I start to lower my stop loss size? Now, I'm in with several micros, so sometimes if I'm kind of sure of the setup and I want to size up, what I will do, I will put an intermediate stop loss at my MAE number. And I showed this yesterday. So, for example, I might be, what am I in on with 5? I might be going like this. Oops. What happened there? Okay, live account, it didn't do it. I don't know why. I'm going to have to examine why they didn't do it. But basically, it's live account. It's different, right? So I just tried to place a buy stop inside here, and it wouldn't let me. So never mind. Let's just leave that. No, actually, I know why it didn't let me. It's a system issue. Never mind. But yeah, usually I like to put a partial inside to control the downside. But once it moves in your direction by 1 R, just let it play out or take profits. Why are you letting it go all the way back to break even? But I don't like to mess around with my stops. If I deem that the trade is not valid for whatever reason, I would just take whatever I have. So let's say I got to 1 R and then I see they're turning around and with quite some power. I will grab 15, 20 ticks instead. I'm not going to let it go to break even. So do an exercise for yourself. You know how I said I was a teacher and you do things methodically? Well, here's what I do for my coaching guys and girls. So whenever I work with someone one-to-one, we identify what their problems are and then we fish for that. So one of the things about break-even trading is that you're afraid of the loss. Why? Because you're trading too much size, usually. In my experience, I've coached over 400 people personally. It's usually too much size. If you're comfortable that the loss you experience is not going to make a huge dent in your account, there is no need to mess around with your stop. So it's either two things. Either you're trading with too much size or you don't have a clearly defined setup. So you are not confident in what you're seeing and you're constantly like, oh my God, yeah. But I've seen these bloody things happen thousands of times in 12 years as an intraday trader, right? 17 years swing trader, independent, but 12 years doing futures trading day in, day out, same thing, staring at profiles, staring at supply and demand, staring at average ranges. It's a lot of data, right? A lot of experiential data. So I'm not afraid of losing a trade. I commit to it. Do an exercise. I'm going to set a task for you, give you some homework. Try not moving your stop. Size down. Don't move your stop. Let the trade play out. But you have to have a reasonable target. You can't shoot for 10R. Those are rare trades intraday, okay? Rare trades. Shoot for something achievable. 2R. Take the 8TR as your measure for your stop loss size. Try to work within the structure and the levels that you see. And don't touch it. Do that for a week. See what happens. And then come back to me and report what you found out about yourself during that time. Okay? It's going to be a very, very good exercise for you. So this is like outright D giving homework. Is day trading your main income or do you do other things? I do many other things. I have property. I have 3 companies. So IT recruitment, I have software development, I have, yes, educational courses connected to trading, and yes, I have trading income. Is my day trading the main income? Not anymore, because I did that once in my life, never do that again. It changes your psychological pattern. Also, it's much easier to be extraordinarily abundant with multiple sources of income, not just one. That's the stupidest thing you can do, have one source of income. Why? You like putting your eggs in one basket? So let's say that we have another semi-apocalypse on our hands And here's the thing, why this is not a good thing. So I'm a crude oil trader, right? What happened during COVID? Crude oil futures went negative and they stopped trading crude oil. So if day trading was my sole income at that point, I would have been, excuse my French, fucked. Okay? I have to do a swear thing. Because that would be the truth. My mortgage would be gone because I don't have my product. So let's say something happens to NQ, semi-apocalypse again on our hands, they suspend NQ futures. What would you do? Or let's take another non-semi-apocalypse version. You hit your head, you fall down the stairs or something, slip in your bathtub, you hit your head, and you get a bad concussion that affects your vision. So you can no longer stare at charts. Then what? You're going to get somebody else to look at the charts for you? What if you start suffering from horrible migraines and the lights and the screens are hurting you? I had that with my vaccine injury. So that was not great. So basically what happened to me was that I did my COVID jabs like a good little girl. And then on the booster, it just completely wrecked me, right? So basically I ended up with a shingles outbreak. I had neural inflammation. Doctors didn't believe that I was really sick because they were like, yeah, it's just an allergy. And they left me to just be very sick for 3 months. And then I started experiencing extreme tiredness. I started experiencing huge light sensitivity. Like I would put the normal light on, not even this, like which is a big ring light. I would put on the normal lights in the room and I felt like somebody was assaulting my brain. And can you imagine trading like that? You can't, right? So I spent 18 months in a dark room with like eye covers on because I couldn't handle anything else. And at my worst, I couldn't even do like daylight or anything. It had to be dark shades or an eye mask, or otherwise my brain would just... So what happens if you have either an accident or we have a semi-apocalypse or something? How are you going to make your money? You won't. Your whole life will fall apart. So having been through certain life events and having been through extraordinarily difficult times where, you know, you're trying to do something and then you malfunction or the world malfunctions or you know, some sort of other black swan event transpires in your life, whether external or internal, trading needs to be cherry on top. Whatever you make in trading is beautiful, right? But multiple sources of income is where it's at. I would never say, yes, just do day trading, because from my personal experience, that's not a good thing to do. Day trading is a very, very active thing to do. It's not a passive income. You need to be there. You need to be at the top of your game. You need to make sure that your discipline is on point. You need to make sure that you're keeping track of stats. It's a very active endeavor, very active venture. And if you can't do that, if you're just, right, you know, I'm doing this, doing that, but I'm not fully committing, and then I get myself into a drawdown, and now I freak out because that's my only source of income, and then I would dig an even bigger hole for myself, and now I don't have money, I might lose a house. You see how that is not a good psychological state to be in on. Now, I know that some people here might be quite a bit younger than myself, and maybe you haven't experienced, you know, outlier events in your own lives, but just trust me, planning for the bad times and planning for, like, basically having a contingency plan for anything that you do, that will serve you much better in life. And if you do manage to make a lot of money or some money from day trading, please, please, please put it in traditional assets that over time can bring you more money through a more passive income. So that's traditionally real estate, traditionally long-term stock portfolio. And, to me, that's been always something to strive for. So don't buy cars unless you're like extraordinarily wealthy. Cars should be the last thing on your mind, right? House. You don't have a flat or an apartment. You don't have, so I'm trying to use Americanized words rather than saying flat, which is what we call apartments. Buy a small apartment, rent it out, use that rent to pay your mortgage, and then build up the go get on the property ladder. That's what we call it here, and just try to build some sort of a portfolio of real estate. 2 would be fine, just two houses. Now I've been pretty fortunate in my life to have that, and it's it's a pain on some ways because property, needs maintenance and all of that. However, you learn a lot of stuff. Like, I'm such a good painter, like painter decorator. I can cut in like a pro. I even have like my favorite brushes, and I actually find it very nice to work with my hands. This is all very cerebral, right? It's all very kind of in your head. And some of the coding stuff that we do, that's also very cerebral. So being able to step away from that and to actually do something physically with your hands, it's amazing. It's like Paul H. doing the DJing as a way to unglue himself from the charts for 2 hours. That's another way of doing it. So doing something else to have a break from trading intraday. But should day trading be your sole income? No. Is it my main income? It's a huge chunk of my income. But I welcome the windfalls. However, I never freak out over the drawdowns either. So, and drawdowns can last, man. Like drawdowns, if you get yourself into one, it can last for 6 months, 7 months. For some people, it can last for a couple of years, I've seen that happen to people. Mine usually are if they do happen, they're like 6 or 7 months, and then either the market conditions improve or whatever. But like I said, during COVID, they suspended my crude oil. So it's like, what gives, man? Now what do I do? And that's how I started looking more back into NQ, looking back into gold, looking back into the different metals. And that's like nearly 4.5, 5 years now, right? So again, having a contingency plan, even intra product, so rather than just gluing yourself down to one asset class, maybe try another asset class. I saw somebody mentioning Bitcoin futures. I don't trade crypto. I'm not going to start. So I'm a little bit miffed with crypto because I bought Bitcoin when it was 4,500. I took it off at 20,000 thinking, this is a great investment. Of course, that was just before it shot up to 69,000. So I was like, well, that was stupid. And I have pensioned for doing that. So I find a great opportunity and then I hold it for 3 years. But because I still have this thing that 3 years is more than enough, right? And I take it off and then it takes off. So that's happened to me quite a few times. But hey, at least I'm good at picking things, right? So you would not advise to go full time? No, I would advise to always have a backup plan, especially if you are not somebody who has taken an extraordinary amount of payouts. And that's like a very, very small amount of people. So immediately you are, if you're one of them, congratulations. If you took out, 100 grand out of Topstep in a year, that's great going. So maybe you can consider that full time, but I would still find something that can cover your bills at the very least. So, for example, you can have a job that pays you your rent, utilities, and all that. So you're sorted on that time, on that side. And I think people who are asking this probably won't have houses and stuff, so maybe not mortgages and stuff. But yeah, having something that covers your bills, just to have that peace of mind. And then, full-time trading. Are we really full-time? Like, let's talk about this. Do you think I sit here for 12 hours a day and trade, and click buttons 12 hours a day? I don't. When you see me, for example, today I'm going to be at the buzzer with Coach Jay and Coach Paul. I'm going to have a stream that is 12 hours apart. So do you think I'm going to sit here from now till the time when it's, when I should be on at the buzzer and just do nothing? Nothing but stare at the charts and trade? No, I probably trade about 4, maybe 5 hours a day. And even that is because I'm doing coaching with other people. So I have to, check in and every so often I have to make sure that I'm not, missing things, and that I have to respond to people and to see whether their trades are valid, their plans are valid, and all of that. So it's quite a lot of work intraday, depending on how many people I've got. But it's not a full-time job. It's a part-time job that can pay you better than any other thing if done right. But if you're doing it wrong, and if you get yourself into drawdown, it's absolutely terrifying if you don't have another income. Absolutely terrifying. We're talking fear from pressing a button. We're talking irrational decisions. Just all of the stuff that you really don't want as a trader, it just hits you straight across the face. And I've been there, okay? I've been there where I've made trading my sole income. And, I did pretty well for a while, but then ran into a 3-month drawdown period. 3 months. It wasn't even that long. It was my own personal hell, because I would come to sit and trade, and all I could think about is, am I going to be able to pay the mortgage this month? Oh, God, okay. Do we have enough money for food? You start going into that sort of like almost homeless mode, where you're like, how am I going to pay for stuff? So you go from having a lot of cash as a trader to a drawdown where you've overspent a little bit on stupid things that you maybe didn't need, and now you're in panic because you've maybe bought a bigger house than you imagined, and you now have a bigger mortgage. So the more money you have, the more bills you will have. And one thing that I would say to myself when I was younger is to not spend as much as I did on stupid stuff like expensive holidays, you say vacations, buying things all the time. Like suddenly you find yourself easily spending like $5,000 on stupid shit. And, so that would be an advice for myself back in the day, to maybe be a little bit more careful. Like at this point, I'm pretty settled in life, but, when I was 32, 33, when I, really started making money from this, my brain went a little bit mad, and then I gained weight because suddenly you're living the good life. I wasn't like fat or anything, but I was probably about like 15 pounds over probably about 25 pounds over than what I am now. And I'm a small person, so any extra things work. And I remember I was skinny most of my life, naturally, and then I don't know what happened to me, man. I just started eating terrible foods, indulgent foods. So I went to see my mom, and my mom has struggled with her weight most of her life. So she saw me, and she was like, "What's happened to you?" And I was like, "Well, excuse me." And she was like, "Yeah, you're a little bit chubby. Like, what's going on there?" And I was like, "What? Did you just call me chubby?" It's like, what the hell, Mom? And she was like, "Yeah, I mean, And from that point on, every time we would talk and I would have like a bite to eat or something, she's like, "Are you eating again?" But, it was something that I had to figure out in my own head. And then within like a couple of years, I kind of reined it in, started exercising, went a bit mad on the bodybuilding side, did like 12 competitions or something crazy. I don't do anything halfway. If I put my heart into it, it's going to be done all the way or nothing. All right, that's going to be it for today. So you will see me at the buzzer with Coach Jay this evening for those of us who are on this side of the pond. And for those of you in the States, I believe that's 4:15 Central. Is that right? No, 3:15 Central. It's an hour before, yeah. And until then, if you found anything that I said over here useful, click the like, click the subscribe if you just stumbled onto this channel, or you're watching us but you didn't subscribe yet. What are you doing? So yeah, likes obviously help me figure out whether you guys like the stream or not, whether we should keep growing it, bring more guests on. Of course, we're going to have Coach Dakota here tomorrow. And when it comes to the rest of my schedule for the week, I am going to be on the reversal challenge on Friday. That should be a riot with Anne-Marie and Andre. Never done one of those. I don't really trade NQ. Don't really like doing M&Q either, but you know, it's a bit of fun on a Friday evening. So again, lower your expectations about that, my performance there. But yeah, it should be fun. I may need a shot of whiskey before we go on. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Check out the rest of the broadcast, and I will see you guys again tomorrow with Coach Dakota for another edition of Topstep TV's London session. I'm Deeyana Angelo, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.